Well, here we are. Let's see. Again, my focus is it's so bothersome to me. It's just not focusing into me. It doesn't recognize my face as an actual face. Here we go. Greetings, student scientists, and citizens of the great, big, weird, wild, and wonderful world in which we live. As always, I'm your humble science communicator, the Great Orbax, joining you here deep in the heart of the McNaughton Building in the Department of Physics at the University of Guelph. And I struggle to look and see that my big giant head is not in focus and that it'll be going back and forth throughout the duration of this, which seems like that's just a terrible thing to do to you, the viewer. But what live stream with the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Montreal chapter wouldn't be just riddled with problems? So pardon me here as I switch over to now a more exciting manual focus that will at least keep me, will require me to stay somewhat stationary in order to do this. Well, greetings. It's been, what now, a year, I suppose, since we've come to visit you. And with all the excitement and the news about space that's going on in our daily lives right now, space, wow. We all love it, and many of us occupy it. And tonight, we'll be talking about space clubs made by students for students. And to do that, we're going to be joined. I might as well bring him in. We've already had a number of problems, so we might as well bring the momentum to an absolute standstill as well. So I'll introduce him. Come joining us all the way live from John Abbot College, where they're actually doing an event this evening. Please join me with a former Guelph Physics, or I suppose you call him a Guelph Physics alumnus, and from the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Montreal chapter. Please welcome in Dr. Karim Jaffer. Ooh.
There we go. You figured out how to do it.
I did. I'm running without a producer this evening, so unfortunately, I've got things at my hands. I beck and call all over the place here. How are you doing tonight, Karim?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Tell us a little bit about the excitement you have going on. I see you're at a live event of some kind.
We are. We actually have a mobile planetarium from our friend Trevor at Plateau Astro, and he is sharing a view of what the astronauts on Artemis 2 are going to get to see when they leave Earth, when they do their orbit around, and then when they go and they do their travel past the moon and back. So we're going to actually get to be in that mission capsule with them ahead of time.
That's exciting. I mean, this is, of course, the biggest news in the biggest space news probably, I mean, in the last 50 some years, humanity is going back to the moon. And not only that, the first non-American astronaut will be joining them on this journey, where Canadian Jeremy Hansen will be on board Artemis 2 to do that historic loop around the back of the moon.
And I love the fact that Jeremy Hansen has been doing, he's been doing the fantastic blog posts. He's been sharing with school children. He took questions from them live last Monday. He's going to be doing a callback during the actual orbit. And the backup, just in case, you always have to have a backup plan ready, is Jenny Gibbons. So we have another Canadian in the actual mission. And if everything goes off as planned, she'll be Capcom. So she'll be communicating with the capsule from here on Earth.
It's truly exciting and inspiring. I believe, you're much, much older than I am, but I believe that at least our parents, had that experience with the family and the unification around the globe of seeing humankind walk on the moon for the first time. And in my lifetime, we've never been back. And I think that's something that people really don't realize.
We haven't been back. And even the rovers and the landers and stuff that have gone there, we haven't brought anything back from the moon.
Right.
So the idea of Artemis 3 getting a chance to go down and sample a different region of the moon and bring back more information that we can actually use our technology, which has grown leaps and bounds. I mean, one of the best things they did with the Apollo missions is they kept some of the samples behind unopened, so that as technology got better, as our instrumentation got better, we could actually do more analysis.
I was listening to a podcast about that, and it's funny. I don't know. I personally don't think of that there's this treasure trove of mystical, magical moon rocks locked away and have been sitting there for 55 years in some cases, that we can now use modern technology to actually investigate and explore. Maybe learn something about the origins of the Earth.
Yep. And with new tools, the samples we can take are going to be more precise. They're going to be deeper. It's not just going to be the rocks that you can pick up with a small little retractable shovel like you do for your socks after laundry if you don't want to bend down. It's going to be more comprehensive, like what we've been using with Curiosity and Perseverance on Mars, to take proper sampling.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's that robots can do quite a few things, but the one thing that they can't do is convey the enthusiasm and the excitement that a human being can. So I'm excited for when these astronauts go around behind the far side of the moon, see areas of the moon potentially that no human eyes have ever seen, and can describe it back to us. It's going to be exciting.
Exactly. And I know the instrumentation that they're taking with them to capture images and to be able to actually choose potential landing spots for future missions and for future rovers and landers, right? There's so many layers to the science that they're doing. And then they also have like bone marrow tissue samples that they're taking with that are coded to the same for astronauts. So they can actually evaluate how much the different solar radiation is protected by the suits versus by the capsule versus by, just what they're exposed to and whether or not we can mitigate any possible impact that that would have when we actually put feet on the moon for an extended period of time.
Well, it's funny, you know, we talk about something like this, and as much as anybody who's ever been a fan of the space race might recognize that astronaut health was not the priority that they had in mind on all sides of that space race. And it's exciting now where human health and human health medicine has come so far that we can now go back and see what it does to human beings in space. But here's the thing. We have exciting presenters tonight, and we've got a ton of them. So we should get on with it and let them talk. And you and I can talk ad infinitum at the end about how excited we are to see people go past the moon. So I'll let you take it away, Karim, with our land and sky acknowledgement.
Wonderful. Thank you, Orbax. And so if you can share the slide that I just put up, it seems to be, there we go. So as part of the Land and Sky Acknowledgement from the RASC and the Education and Public Outreach Committee, you know, we do recognize that we are in Indigenous lands across the country. We have 30 centers, coast to coast to coast. Here in Montreal, we are on Indigenous lands that are unceded territory of the Kanakahaka as well as the Anishinaabe. We also recognize that we share the sky with them. And if you've had the chance to see any of Orbax's stargazing guides over the year, you've seen that he captures a lot of the essence of some of the Indigenous culture and knowledge in the moons especially. And the February moon that's coming up, the full moon right at the start of February, you know, it's that cusp moon. It's right between when we would see the settlers call it the snow moon and when the Cree would call it the deep snow moon. The Lenape just finished what they would have called the tree cracking moon and are into the deep snow moon. And when we look outside and we see the cold and the incredible changes in temperature that we've had over the last couple of months, we saw this in nature. We saw trees cracking, snapping. We saw the maple syrup suddenly freezing and expanding. And we saw these huge snowstorms with gusts of wind. But the one that actually strikes me the most is the Cree name for the elder moon, because at this point, you're on the third full moon of the winter for some years. Right now, we're in the second, but November full moon, we were pretty cold here by then. And you're starting to experience these long nights and getting tired of them. You're getting tired of the cold. So the idea that the moon is now old and it's kind of time for the sun to come back for a little bit longer, it kind of captures you and gives you that hopeful spirit that you're going to move on to that next stage in nature and bring spring back. So we acknowledge the land definitely, and that the care that was given to the land and the waters by the First Nations, the Métis, and the Indigenous peoples, and also that we share the sky with cultures and Indigenous peoples from across the entire country and world. Orbax, back to you, and we can start on your first speaker.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's very exciting to welcome our first guest here. He's a student. I'm just waiting to see him pop up in our little gallery. There he is. Okay, fantastic. I was terrified for a second. We're joined tonight by Gregory Perri, who's joining us. Where are you at tonight, Gregory?
Hi, everyone. I'm in North York, Toronto.
Fantastic. And what's the snow situation like there today?
Oh, it's terrible. There's so much snow. I'm not sure it's as cold as in Montreal. Or
it's
Guelph,
not.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? In Guelph last night, it got down to minus 31 with the wind chill, which was it's the coldest it's been here for a very, very long time.
I imagine. Yeah.
But Gregory, we're going to hand this over to you. And why don't you take us through the project that you've been working on?
Sounds good. I think you need to bring the presentation into the thing. There we go. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Gregory Perri. I'm a student in grade 11 here in Toronto. And today I'm going to be doing a quick presentation on astronomy in the community because it's something I'm really passionate about, and I think I found a good amount of success here in my school. So, considering most of us here are part of astronomy clubs, my presentation will be talking about the two clubs that I run, how to do it successfully, how to keep it interesting, and just a bit about my experience in general. So the objectives of my small talk today, and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, is to share strategies for sustaining a good high school astronomy club or an university. I'm going to talk about how astronomy can be made more accessible through my project with the CNIB, or the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And then I'm going to present a tool that I made, which is a 3D printed Skymap as a tool for accessible astronomy. So first of all is my high school astronomy club. Now for some context, my high school has never had an astronomy club. And given my interest in previous experiences, for example, my dad has his undergrad and works in the line of astronomy, I started our club in grade 9. Below are a few pictures of us doing multiple activities, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But our blueprint was based on needs and support and having a plan from the beginning of the year all the way to the end. So this is a small blueprint I made in case anyone needed help with this, and I think it's a great thing to present on how to create a successful club. So first of all is laying the groundwork. So finding faculty, finding a great teacher like Professor Orbax or Professor Jaffer. In our school, we had to draft a proposal at this thing called Club Fest to make sure everything was all good. And then we need to prepare to pitch at command to any other students who are interested in joining our club. Next is logistics. So for us, that'd be choosing a meeting time and deciding on a membership cap, because at our school, we had a lot of people interested because we go from grade 6 to grade 12. And so it was open to everyone. And we decided on a cap of 15 people to keep everything interesting, not too many people, not too busy, make sure everyone shows up. And for us, we decided on 1.5 hours after school every week on a Wednesday. And the most important part is building interesting content. So for us, we really focused on keeping it like not having presentations. It was just discussions with a few presenters here and there. And for us, we talked about current events. So for example, Artemis, other important discoveries. We talked about we did hands-on activities. For example, we were all interested in rocketry, so we built model rockets. We sent them up, got really high stuff. We competed in some competitions. For example, the IAAC. We had guest speakers, and in my opinion, the most important part is having frequent field trips or frequent outings. I think it's really important. So for us, we visited York University, UFT, and we hope to go to Guelph, the University of Montreal, as many places as we possibly can to use their telescopes, use their resources, and further understanding of astronomy. And the last part is sustaining momentum. It's really important to have good communication on the dates of our meetings throughout Google Classroom, celebrate member contributions, and have a sort of hierarchy, so have different members lead different sessions and such. And right now, we're in our 3rd consecutive year. And for me, I thought the real key to our success was balancing between structure and flexibility. And we did a really great job at cultivating genuine curiosity for astronomy, because that's where it all came from. Next is a unique project I worked on with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. So I have a blind friend, and he was always interested in astronomy because most being hard of vision is a spectrum. And so a lot of people have had their sight before losing it. And so given this, I was like, how can I integrate this group of people who are often not thought to be able to do astronomy into the field that is astronomy? And so I approached the Canadian National Institute for the Blind with the goal of creating a club with them in a program in order to bring astronomy to the blind. Now, with the support of our program lead, her name was Veronica, we had our first meeting of January 2025, and we had a massive number of participants. The number's wrong, but it was around 53 people. And it was very consistent throughout our 7 sessions. The ages ranged from 14 to 78, so a very large diversity of participants. Again, a very large diversity of being blind. And we had people come in from most provinces, but mostly Ontario. Now I'm going to talk a bit about what we did and how it challenged my biases. So here's a link for our sign up in case you know anyone who'd like to join. But I'm going to talk briefly about what we did and how it was so incredible. So most people would think that astronomy is a very visual field, but I got to learn more and more that there are many other ways of interpreting astronomy, whether that be through visualization, through sonifications, through tactile activities. And if we look at a few examples of what we did together, me and my team found a way to really make sure that all could understand. For example, we talked about sonifications. We used tactile exercises, for example, comparing different lengths of things to demonstrate the scales of the universe. We had discussions. And what was really surprising was that most participants had a very good understanding of astronomy. And so we had a really great time talking about all the different aspects of it. For example, from the Fermi paradox to black holes to physics concepts to rockets. Here are some examples of my session. So we talked about galaxy types, dark matter, what exoplanets were, the solar cycle, rocketry, and all of these things. And it was a really amazing time. And I implore you, if you have anyone who is blind and would like to join, I'd refer it heavily. It was an incredible experience. It challenged my biases, and it really helped me make some new friends and some new connections in the astronomy space. And finally, I want to talk about a bit about my 3D printed Skymap, which is the last aspect I worked on to talk about for this small presentation. And it's because I find a really important part about astronomy, and especially observing, is doing it with your friends, being around, having a great environment around you. And so I thought, well, how can we include blind people into this? And I thought about the Starfinder from Rask, which there is a photo of on the right. So I thought about how can we make this more accessible and include my blind friends and other people like that. And so I worked with a 3D printing company to make, if you look here, a sky map that is tactile. It sticks out. It has its own dimensions in 3D that spins by itself, and with all the writing of the different constellations in Braille. And what that does is it allows those people to visualize where the stars are in the sky, and allows them to be included in observation sessions and discussions, and really helps them visualize what stars are, where they are, at what time, and how the map works. For example, if we see that rotating disc on the top of the 3D print, how it works is you align the date with the time, and you can see the stars in the sky at that position through that little window there. And took a lot of work to do. We had to contact a few Braille presses, a few Braille printers, and that's why you see the professional Braille writing on the side of the board, which we put underneath in a small compartment at the bottom of the sky map, which allows them to read all the constellations, because Braille has to be in very specific distances, and it really helps them be included. And it was a really wonderful project. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
It's fantastic. What a great project, Gregory. That's really interesting.
It is, and the fact that you share the 3D model so that people can print it out and that they can get the Braille printed at local CNIB center. I mean, it makes it possible to do the outreach and for you to actually have a legacy, like a lasting impact across the country.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, but we do have a public link with a university in Spain, because they have an accessible astronomy website. And so if anyone wanted to download any of the STL files or anything like that, we'll have the link sent out after this.
And that touch of the universe, that site, it also has like the 3D printed maps where the brightness of the stars is represented by the height, like you do in your star map. But then you can actually feel a galaxy, and you can actually feel how the core compares to the arms. It's incredible.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
We've got a comment here from Harold. Reaching out. Harold is a longtime viewer of our annual live streams. That's cool. What a great tool. Ron McNaughton, who we'll be hearing from later on tonight, posted love your 3D Starfinder. So there's a lot of positive comments about this, and it's I mean, it really is an incredible idea. Like you said, for a field that's predominantly assumed to be only visual, it really challenges the biases of us as astronomers.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think at some point we may need to have a concert with your sonification projects as well. We can get like a few different instruments going and actually have the music of the cosmos.
Well, you got a year. We need something for next year's live stream, so let's get that going. Well, as always, we'll answer any questions that you have, and then we'll bring Gregory back later on as well to make sure that we can have a roundtable discussion. Exactly. But I want to make sure that we get to our next speaker before they have to leave. So Gregory, we'll say goodbye to you, but stick around. We'll bring you back on later, and everybody, let's give a warm farewell to Gregory there.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So our next speaker is joining us here from the University of Guelph, where they're the president of our Physics and Astronomy Club, and have run have been running several successful stargazing events and evenings, even though I believe that there's been since perhaps 2024, only 3 clear nights
Yep.
to ever take place in this city and the surrounding regions.
I have to ask you, Orbax, with Erin coming on, have you told her about your university days? Have you regaled her with your stories of being such a
So please
studious
welcome
individual?
to the stage, Erin Foley, everybody. It's nice to see you tonight, Erin. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well. This is exciting. We're reaching out across the province here and talking to all types of people. We're excited to hear your presentation. Is there anything you want to say, or you want to get right into it?
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. Well, stand by. I have to manually remove us from the stream.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Oh, yeah. Okay. So just a little bit about your presenter. So as Orbax said, my name's Erin. I'm a 4th year physics student here at the University of Guelph. I've been the head of our physics and astronomy club for about 2 years now. But Guelph doesn't really have an astronomy department, which means the community is a little bit all over the place. Yeah, I grew up in Toronto, so that very bright spot on the screen there, and had never really looked through a telescope until this summer, actually, and never experienced dark skies. But that all changed this summer. So I was looking for a job, and I came across an email to be an astronomy instructor at the Cypress Hills Observatory, thinking I definitely do not have the qualifications for this. I can't even tell you the order of planets. I applied, not thinking I will get it, and surprisingly I did. So if you're wondering where Cypress Hills is, I don't blame you. It's a dark sky preserve in Saskatchewan, and it's partially run by the University of Regina and the Rask Regina Centre. So I got the job and then packed up, moved to literally the middle of nowhere, where we had a couple of smaller telescopes, and then on the right, the big Schmidt-Cassegrain 14-inch scope. They gave me and my 2 other coworkers a pocket sky atlas, and then we just got to work and started learning. So the job overall was an outreach position. So the public would come to the observatory, and we would have anything from presentations to hands-on programs and activities to staying up and looking at the stars till around 2 a.m. And it was a really great opportunity to really learn astronomy and just get really deep into it. Some nights we would get over 300 people between the 3 of us. And I think what I gained most from the experience was when people were just asking me questions, I would carry around a little notepad. And when I didn't know the answer, I would write it down to look into later and learn a little bit more. And that's kind of where my interest in astronomy started, only this past summer. And I soon fell in love. These are some of my astrophotography images I've taken during those summer months in Saskatchewan. And when I came back to Guelph, I knew that I wanted to get my own scope and continue looking up at the stars. So I bought a tiny little 6-inch scope, and I continued to do a little bit of astrophotography. And looking back on that email that I kind of just took a chance at, it kind of really changed the trajectory of my life. Since I was in the middle of nowhere, I was able to really reflect on, I found something that I really love doing, and I want to work towards bringing it into my education. So I was able to, I'm doing my thesis project right now, looking at Martian rocks for the Curiosity rover. And in the fall, I'm going to be doing my master's in astronomy at Dalhousie. So this outreach position, although I was the one doing the outreach, it really inspired me to learn more about space. And I'm really fortunate to have this opportunity. And especially coming back to Guelph, I want to be able to share that with our student body and just the community in general. So after this summer job, I came back to Guelph, already being in the club for a while. We didn't have too much astronomy going on. So we started hosting stargazing nights. They were really successful, and we're able to get a lot of students from all over the department and other departments as well to attend. A lot of it is just running around like crazy with all the scopes, but they're a lot of fun. However, we did run into a couple obstacles. There's definitely a lack of volunteers to run the scopes that have the knowledge to just operate them, which was a little bit of a struggle. And as well, being a university club, there's a lot of hoops to jump through with planning, especially stargazing events or events late at night. And of course, the weather in Guelph during these winter months is not the greatest and definitely not forgiving. So after we ran a couple of these stargazing events, we tried to think about, okay, what are some ways we can still do astronomy and get people interested? So I started to kind of reflect on when I was at Cyprus, and it was a rainy day, for example, what were we able to do that the public still really enjoyed it? So we started to create more events that were more workshop style and kind of like presentations and guest speakers of different topics. So here are just a couple that we've done, and they were a really great success. And I think it's a really great way to get discussion during the winter months when it's not that easy to go outside. And they were really well attended. So in the future of the club, we have started to look at different ways that we can do outreach and execute outreach with the larger public of Guelph. We've hosted a couple of events with the physics department for young girls in science, and a lot of more tactile, experiment-based events with the public has been really great just for our students as well to get experience presenting these concepts. And kind of like what I was talking about before, the best way to learn is to not know something. And that has been really pivotal in getting the community very motivated and motivated to learn more astronomy. So yeah, that's all I've got.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's interesting, you know. I think there's some background that, if you don't mind me sharing about yourself, is that you're a science and arts student.
Yes, I am.
So, you know, you not unlike myself, where there's many different things pulling you in different directions. You know, this astronomy experience that you had in Saskatchewan sounds like it really pushed you in a direction more towards the sciences at this point, at least for the next few years.
Yeah, I think it's something that I've always been interested since I was a kid. But, you know, looking at other astronomers or just physicists, it's hard to picture yourself being able to do that. And I think this was an experience where I was just kind of thrown into it. And at the end, I realized I can do this. And it's something that I'm really passionate about.
I mean, I think I probably speak for Karim as well when, you know, teaching, I find is a very similar thing. You know, when I started teaching physics, geez, at this point, almost 2 decades ago, whoa,
Yep.
that's long, huh? Yeah, so when I started doing that almost decades ago, often it was just staying ahead of the rolling ball that's always trying to constantly, the imposter syndrome ball that's rolling down the hill trying to take you over, where you don't necessarily know everything, but you're trying to learn it and teach it to people in a way that they can understand, and that really grew my passion for physics and for the subject, because I was so excited to tell it to people after I had learned it, that it really pushed me more towards that route. And I find that astronomy is so much about that passion of sharing what you know with other people.
That and the astrophotography side. I mean, the fact that you can bring in a little bit of that subjectivity to be able to draw out the science. We were having this discussion in one of the James Webb seminars that we were having with the Space Science Telescope Institute. And they were saying that they hire the artists to work alongside the scientists because there's too few scientists who've actually done enough art to understand how to highlight and how to really focus the perspective on a specific part of an image.
Yeah, it's also just so frustrating. I don't know how they do it.
I mean, I think too, we're finding that as time's going on, we're clearly learning that people are learning more today visually than perhaps they ever have before. I think long gone are the days of reading about these things in books. And then intuitively understanding it. I mean, we're in a medium right now, a video, right? And this is kind of how people learn and people think now. And what better topic to portray through the visual medium than one of the most beautiful in the world, which is everything outside of the world, everything out in space, right? Astronomy is all.
Yeah, this is part of the reason why we did the mobile planetarium, is because getting to see that Artemis mission visually moving by you and changing perspective, that's something that stays with you. Just getting to see it in slides and pictures, it's informative, but it doesn't have quite that impact.
Yeah, I think definitely, like this summer, I think one of the most impactful moments to me was there was a woman and I showed her the telescope and it was pointing to the moon and she just looks in it and just starts crying. And
it's amazing. I feel that way every time I look through a telescope at it, right? Like it's just, and then not to cut you off, but it's overwhelming. I respond so much to that, yeah. And
it's just like they get it too, that it's so cool. And
so, yeah. Erin, what's your favorite object to use for outreach? What is the thing that you want to show people and see their reaction and see the questions that they have to ask?
Good question.
I think definitely observational is my favorite. And when it's available and the sky is behaving, not often, that's always my go-to.
But so do you like showing planets? Do you like showing nebulae? Do you go for Andromeda to just show a bit of the fuzziness?
Yeah, well, it depends. Definitely. In Cyprus, it was dark skies. So, you go to M51 and tell them it's a galaxy eating another galaxy. And it's like, whoa. But definitely here in Guelph, I stick to more planetary stuff.
Planets and the moon. Planets and the moon.
That's all we got.
But one of the neatest experiences we've had with the moon is when you take a really good zoom eyepiece and you're in along the terminator, but then you hand the control to the person watching and let them just kind of skim over the surface of the moon. And that part where they get to see the kind of the mountains and valleys, go and visit different craters, and then you talk to them a little bit about what they're seeing and kind of the relative heights and stuff. When you have a chance to be out there with people who haven't seen it before or who haven't really had a chance to be guided through it, do you find that they want to keep talking or that they want to have that private moment more often?
I find that I don't think as much private. I mean, it's something that can be really like life-changing, honestly, is like looking through your first telescope. I know it was for me. But I found more so that it kind of sheds the fear of being wrong, and you just start having a conversation, and honestly just asking so many questions was always my experience. Yeah.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Erin.
All right.
It's fantastic. And I know you've got stuff to do. So unless there's any parting thoughts that you have that you want to share with people who will be watching this for posterity, we'll let you go.
Oh yeah, thanks so much for having me.
No problem.
I'm excited.
And good luck with your master's degree.
Thanks. Bye.
Well, Dalhousie has a great RASC center down there. Get involved.
I'm excited. It should be good.
All right. Wow. We're really hitting all types of topics tonight, Karim. How is your night going there?
I love the fact that we have the students being the ones to present, because so often we have like a researcher talking about their research, or we have somebody who's at a certain point in their career. This is the students who are kind of doing this while they're in class, while they've got like evaluations and exams and stuff. They still take the time out to be out under the stars to share the bits that they've understood and then try to understand more, gain more skills. It's wonderful to see.
Yeah, and it's a real passion, right? When you talk to somebody about anything that they're interested in and you just ask them to describe it for you, you can feel that passion. And that's, I've never met an astronomer who hasn't just had that passion to want to explain even the most mundane elements of what they're looking at, but they're so excited about it. I mean, the community is just a great community. And, similar to Erin, this is a community that I've not been involved with for very long as well. I was a physicist and a teacher, and, astronomy is relatively new to me in the last 5 years. Mostly started during COVID, where I started doing our stargazing collaboration videos. And
I remember having the chat with you when we were doing our reunion tour of Guelph, and I asked you a question, and 7 years later, we haven't stopped speaking.
Yeah, there we go. And speaking of our collaborations, the February stargazing guide just went up this morning. Yep. And about 50, and it's our Artemis 2 special. So if you're looking to have a nice little overview for the junior scientists in your life, or the armchair scientists in your life, or hey, anybody, I can use the clicks. Feel free to take a look. Typically, we talk about constellations that are around this time of year, planets you may be able to see a night sky and discuss the moon. But this one is entirely an Artemis special. We thought Artemis 2 is potentially going to launch in the next few days. So let's do that. And so as soon as it went live, about 10 minutes later, they decided to scrap the flights for another 2 to 3 days and pushed it back by about a week. But the information is still valid. And even if you don't want to look at my giant head screaming at you, in the description, in the YouTube video, you'll be able to find a list of visualizations that I found from NASA and the CSA. So if there are educators out there who are looking, or even just you at home want to look at what the Artemis 2 flight trajectory looks like, take a look at what stages what will be happening when they orbit the Earth and get into that high Earth orbit and whip back around for the translunar injection, what an artist think that will look like, and what we think the rear side of the moon will look like. I've listed some of what I think are probably the better or more educational videos.
Exactly. And so you've got the video resources there. You have some of the other resources on rasc.ca/Artemis2.
Great.
We've compiled ones for outreach. We've compiled ones for teachers. We've compiled ones for, believe it or not, student space clubs, because some of them are doing this outreach.
Well, that's interesting. If I was to be one to focus on segues, which I often do not, I would say that would be a perfect launch, no pun intended, perfect launch into what's happening there tonight at John Abbott College.
So let's bring the Jack Space Club in. We've got 3 of our exec with us tonight. We've got Kira, we've got Eva, we've got Tristan, and they should be visible. There they are. Hello.
Wait for us.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, I'm gonna mute myself and then work on their audio. Orbax, take it over.
Oh, geez. Okay. I had no expectation of this. So how are you doing there tonight over in Quebec?
Doing
Cold.
cold, yes.
Exciting. So can you explain to us a little bit about what you're doing there tonight, about what the group is doing, and what the intention is?
Yeah, so we'll start by introducing the Space Club. So Kira, this is Eva, and this is Tristan. And first of all, we just want to say thank you for the RASC for inviting us to speak about our experiences as executives of the John Abbott Space Club. So we'll start off by saying that our partnership with the RASC has opened so many opportunities for our club members, and we'll share what kinds of activities the club has participated in tonight and some personal anecdotes on why we're interested in space. Firstly, members of the Space Club at John Abbott have the privilege of being able to attend like all the RASC events, like the library nights, the observation nights at the Morgan Arboretum, and assisting guest speaker events. And during our weekly meetings, we like to share these outreach and volunteer opportunities to all of our members, along with activities and discussions about space.
So a big event for us is that every year the Space Club organizes a spooky night around Halloween where families are invited here to participate in space-themed crafts and activities in their Halloween costumes. It's especially a space-safe place for kids to enjoy trick-or-treating without having to walk in the streets, since we like to give out candy to them as well. And on International Observe the Moon Night, we co-hosted an activity with the Dawson Astronomical Society. We worked with Louise Campbell, a musician and author lead for Dark Sky Preserve, to create an interactive activity where constellations were made for star fields of the fall night sky. The idea was to use coffee filters and Sharpies to trace the night sky, and participants would color over the coffee filters, and we'd spray water on them, and the colors would seep through each filter, holding less color as you went down. This was mimicking the effects of air pollution, and you could draw your own unique creates over the colors and stars. This afternoon, we are also hosting the Daytime Planetarium event in the Agora for all of our students at John Abbott College. And in 2024, we were still in high school, but we heard about the Eclipse event that was hosted by the Space Club at John Abbott. That was a huge success.
We also do a bunch of kind of more hands-on projects, more like workshop kind of things. One of which is building telescopes. We got donated 2 mirrors from telescopes from the RASC, and we're working on building some enclosures and the whole Dobsonian telescope. For those mirrors, using the secondary mirrors and everything. We're using 3D printing and like wood to make the optical tube assembly. Yeah, it was 2 mirrors, so we've worked on more on the 6-inch one for more prototyping and just getting our process down. And then from there, we're gonna work on the 8-inch mirror to get that one working properly as well.
So now we'll talk a bit more about our personal anecdotes about why we're interested in space. So first of all, I was really excited to become one of the Space Club execs because when I was in high school, I found there weren't really a lot of opportunities that were presented to us to get involved in the space field. And we didn't have a space club, and people didn't talk about space at all. So I felt like nobody was ever interested in what I was curious about, which was a bit sad. But then when I came to John Abbott, I saw that we had a club that was affiliated with a local astronomy group, the RASC, made of people passionate about space from the Montreal area. And I was excited to finally have the opportunity to participate in something I found interesting for years. So by going to observing nights, even though I don't have my own telescope, I had the chance to view Saturn for the first time through the Arboretum's telescope. And members were also excited to share with me other night sky objects through their own telescopes. And I feel like I've learned so much while attending all the guest speaker lectures too.
I had a very similar experience to Kira, where at my high school, there wasn't really any space-related activities and not a big emphasis on space careers. So any astronomy-related activity was done on my own time, and even then, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I didn't know how much I would actually enjoy it. I liked the idea of astronomy, but I didn't know where to start, basically. But when I learned that there was a space club at JAC, I took this opportunity to explore my passion, and I quickly learned that I enjoyed participating in astronomy-related events. And when I became exec for the club, I learned that I had even more fun organizing and helping out at these events. I do have my own telescope, but I'm not nearly as experienced as the members of RASC. And all of their events I've been to, they've been more than happy to share their equipment and explanations. It's really been a great experience, and it helped me realize that I genuinely enjoy this field of study.
Yeah. For me, I've always really enjoyed space. I kind of got into it earlier on with a kind of a very small telescope when I first saw the rings of Saturn. and that was really eye-opening for me. That got me interested in the field, and then I always wanted to be able to share this kind of passion with people. So I got into astrophotography a lot, like in my later years of high school, and there wasn't really any clubs or any outreach opportunities there. So I was really happy when I went to a John Abbot open house and discovered that there was the Jack Space Club. I got to just like meet the old execs, and they made it really like a really nice experience because they made it nice and welcoming. So as someone who was just coming from high school going into a new school, it was kind of a bit of it felt like a bit of a task to almost go and go out of my comfort zone kind of thing and meet new people, but it made it really interesting. So that's something that I try and do now as an exec. I want to make it as welcoming as possible. I think that's Oh, and learning about the building of the telescope, that was really fun. I learned about that all throughout last year with the old execs, and then we've been carrying it along into the present day with building extra telescopes and stuff. I think that's it.
Okay, so we want to also thank the RASC and Professor Jaffer for having this opportunity, and also the great Orbax for being on stream with us. We had fun talking about our club. Please feel free to ask us any questions.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's great to see some of the former students there in the background, including one of the former exec, Daniel, is back there. Sebastian, who's a current member, is back there. One of our faculty members is back there. And then the RASC exec. They're all there supporting the student club, which is one of the wonderful things about this partnership.
Yeah, that's pretty fantastic to have the two working in tandem. I have a question for the Jack Space Club, which I guess is this one. So I'll share some of my background with it. You know, my interest in space comes primarily from a physics background, right? I like to see rockets explode and go off. I want to understand why planets move the way that they do and why the universe works the way they do. And those are all very physics based. And the more I become involved in the space community, the more I've recognized how there's a place for everyone in space science, and how, you know, we need biology, we need geology, we need engineers just for this. I mean, I don't know if we need engineers, but in the end, I mean, but beyond even that, we're looking at medical health, we're looking at infrastructure and creating relay systems and management, and that all of this comes together to get us to places like the moon, or to get us to study places out at Lagrange points. And I guess my question to you is, what are you studying now now? Like, what is your career? What are you looking at doing? Are you a physicist? Are you science students at all?
Well, we're in so a part of our program in sciences here at John Abbot of a science project. It's not kind of like a capstone project at the end of our studies, I guess you could say, at the end of when we're about to graduate in our last semesters. And they always try and blend two or more disciplines. So we're all three of us. We are in the planetary sciences. I think it's called planetary sciences class, and it's a project where we have to blend both geology and physics. So that's really interesting. And you kind of, as you go along and you explore more into it, you kind of realize that it's not, no matter what you do, you're not only going to be blending just geology and physics. There's going to be aspects of everything else, like every other scientific discipline almost. And you end up just having to explore all those extra little facets that even though we signed up for it, the geology and physics part, you realize that, okay, I'm going to have to do a lot more research into maybe like the biology side of things, or into the chemistry side of things. So it's definitely a lot of open, and it's really interesting to see all those.
Yeah, I wish I had recorded that answer.
Well, it's interesting. You know, it's one of those things again that you look at this idea of multidisciplinary study and being not just a well-rounded scientist with what you go on to do, but becoming a well-rounded person who has critical thinking abilities and is able just to interact with stuff. And I think, you know, you find a lot of that in space science, where people, out of necessity, like you're saying, you're needing to learn elements of geology, elements of biology, elements of physics. It's great. I wish we had a program similar to that here. That's fantastic.
If only. No, but you have the research side. That's the neat thing is,
Well, yeah.
I bring in, you know, McGill and Concordia, University of Montreal, Bishop's, profs to be able to talk to the students about the applications and how many different fields are crossed over. You have that there in your backyard. And so this is what's been nice about this partnership is we get to actually highlight not just these researchers in space sciences, but also the fact that it's sciences. It's all of these different disciplines. It's everything you learn in the core. And those lines that we had when we were going through school, Orbax, where there's physics here, there's math here, there's computer, those lines don't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it must be interesting, especially for a man your age, to see how things change over time. You know, studying by candlelight like you did back in those days. But I think we're more integrated now.
You jest, but I actually had a Amish student in my class when I was in elementary school, where we had to do our work by kerosene heaters because we weren't allowed to have electric lamps.
Oh.
So you joke, but there you go. That's how old I am.
Well, I'll thank the
You didn't expect that.
I'll thank the Jack Space Club for coming out and being on stream with us. And you know, good luck with the rest of your event. How long are you there tonight? If people are watching live, do they still have time to race down and check out what's going on?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
we're there till about 9 o'clock. And if I can take a moment, Trevor, are you there? I saw him in the corner.
Trevor. He's here.
Trevor, can you come up for a moment to the owl?
Sorry, what?
So this is Trevor Curlian. He's with Plateau Astro, and he's the one running our mobile planetarium.
Oh, fantastic.
And he also does a live stream right now for Artemis 2. Did you want to tell a little bit about the upcoming show?
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing it every Monday night for about 5 weeks or so, and I promise to do it every Monday up until launch. And it increasingly looks like I'm going to be doing more and more shows, so we'll see. Yeah, it's about 45 minutes long, 2 topics, 15 minutes each for each topic, and then 50 minutes of Q&A. So if you have questions about the mission, yeah, I happily answer them live. And yeah, I thought I'd run out of content, but there's new content, new ideas keep coming about the mission. And so, yeah, every Monday and on YouTube and Facebook.
Wonderful. And he's even got the Artemis 2 swag, so you know it's authentic.
Oh, nice.
This is given to me. I didn't buy this, so yeah.
You're going to be doing this every Monday until the launch?
That's the plan.
So
Yeah.
if it's anything like Artemis 1, then I guess we'll tune in for the next 75 episodes of your.
Yeah, it could be a while. Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure my fiance, who has to take care of our 1-year-old baby while I do the live stream, is going to love that. So, yeah.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, honestly, that's great. And so, you know what? We'll be able to toss a link to those in the description here below on our YouTube page so people could click through and join you for your adventure and see. I mean, it's an exciting time. We'll see what happens.
Good. Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks, Trevor. And I see people waiting for another show, so I'll pass it over to you guys to do the mobile planetarium and Orbax. What's next?
All right. Well, this is fantastic. I mean, we're really hitting all the topics here tonight, aren't we? This is exciting. We have one last presenter here who sent us a video so that we can watch. Let me bring up a little script here for Ron. Our next presenter is Ron McNaughton. Ron's taught science for 30 years in Zambia, Nunavut, and Malton. He's enjoyed astronomy since his teen years when he saw some satellites in the sky. He's seen all 9 planets in the same night, and also 3 total solar eclipses. He enjoys outreach and answering questions, including someone last year who asked if the Earth is really round and not flat. He's going to be talking about an incredible resource that he's compiled at astroschoolclub.ca. And again, he mentions it in his presentation, but we'll put a link to it in the description as well. So I believe I can make this work without any further ado.
Fantastic. I've really enjoyed working with Ron over the last few years. It's going to be great. This resource, it's going to evolve over time, but it's great to have these activities at your fingertips, especially if you're students starting out a club, or if you're a teacher who wants to mentor students to do some of these activities.
Fantastic.
Orbax, I'd like to thank you very much for letting me talk about school clubs. Took this picture on the ground at Starfest, which has many hundred astronomers and telescopes, and people get together for interesting conversations, learning the latest news on astronomy, and when it's dark, capturing photons with our eyeballs, our eyepieces, or cameras. Good time. I've always wanted to help with school clubs, and when I retired, I have time to do it, so I've done a lot of research. And I've talked to many people, scoured the internet, recorded ideas, and this gives you an idea of the geographical scope of where I've gone. I entered data into a spreadsheet, and I recorded at first URLs and a brief description, and then it expanded to other things. Sometimes I either didn't like any website or wanted to link several, so I wrote my own section. So these are all here, and I note I go from 6 to 183, so there are almost 200 activities or ideas that you can use. For each one, I decide whether it's secondary, middle, or elementary, and I also put them into categories that I'll talk about in a little second. This is kind of messy for people to use, especially on cell phones, so I've set up a website, astroschoolclub.ca. I have very brief descriptions of it, and then I urge people to get help, and I urge club leaders to make contact with a local astronomy club because they might further give help. Okay, let's start by clicking elementary ideas, and you get this screen. So you get the different categories for elementary clubs, and when you click, say, activities, you get a list of 1 or I think 2 dozen activities here. I'm going to talk about model rocketry. Good fun. You need equipment and know how to do it, or maybe ask a local amateur astronomer to help run it. Unfortunately, my school was under the flight path of Pearson, and I didn't think it was a good idea. When you click secondary ideas and also activities, you get a different list suitable for the different age, but you have some activities in common. And I'm just going to talk about galaxy sorting. Each group gets 20 photos of galaxies, and you sort them according to some system. Then when the systems are set up, each group explains to everybody else how they did the system, and you compare it. Now, this is Edwin Hubble's model a century ago, and it's more or less the same now. Project list is very activities you can do, such as taking a picture for 6 months and you see every day with the sun, and when there's no sun, that was a cloudy day. I personally did one as well. But I'm going to talk about a citizen science activity that are good fun, and they basically keep imaging galaxies, especially with the Webb telescope. And what they do is they send people that have got training to look at the different galaxies and to sort them by category. Then a scientist later on that wants to look at 3 billion old galaxies of a certain type can find them. So that's useful for science. Lots of demonstrations using craters with flour. Remember once in my classes, I dropped rocks into flour and made a big mess, and the kids liked it, but I didn't really see that much exciting in it. But a guy from the Halifax RASC Center came up with a better method, and craters have rays around them, at least big ones do, and some of them, this was taken by Apollo astronauts, have mountains in the middle. And when you mix flour and baking soda, you sift it into the plastic pan. Then you find dark chocolate and sift a thin layer on top. You drop low density things like nuts, but not high density things like rocks. You can get rays, and you also can get bouncing in the mountains because that's a right balance. Fun activity. I also love making comets, basically water, mud, and dry ice, and rubber gloves so you don't freeze your hands. I noticed Science North added powdered charcoal. The different videos I looked at, nobody else used powdered charcoal, but comets are darker than asphalt. Lessons, here are things that you can just show to the club. If you want, a galaxy full of black holes, fascinating to think of. And the idea is if a spacecraft is going close to a black hole, the front part has higher gravity than the back, so you're stretched, and not just the spacecraft, but the astronauts themselves, not very healthy. And astronomers put together a really complex name using the ancient languages. They call it spaghettification in the dictionary. Lots of ideas for observing. One of them is a cell program that's free, and it can give you the star patterns for any direction, for any time or date, from any place on Earth. There are different settings for it. And I particularly like, you can search for specific types of object like comets. So when you hear a comet is in the sky, what you can do is get it. And then when you click that comet, it appears against a star field. But most comets are visible close to sunset, because they're close to the sun when they're brightest. And what you can do is you have your cell phone, put it overhead like this, and then back down, and it gets into compass mode. And what you can do is point your cell at it, and then focus binoculars or telescopes at it, and you can find a comet, because sometimes they're hard to find. A great thing on buying binoculars by a member of the New Brunswick RASC Center. Astrophotos are a wonderful hobby. And I usually take astrophotos with a piece of Earth in them, but many take pictures of what I call faint fuzzies. And what they do is they get a whole bunch of images that have just a little bit of the data. There's a reason you don't want to go too long. And then what you do is you process them. Notice how the black sky rather than the brown that comes out of the raw pictures. And you also combine them together in a way. And I talked to a guy in BC, and he took his club to a community college photo lab with a different software. The kids learned the technique, and they had a really good print of their object to show their friends or take home. Good fun. Club Run has a whole bunch of things to, like starting a club, fundraising ideas, how to promote, just ways to run the club better, worthwhile. I'm going to end without talking about many ideas where sites have maybe 10 or 20 activities that you can look at with thoughts. And some of these are heavy-duty thoughts. And I include a discussion on the Cloudy Nights forum. And often they're email groups of astronomers, and somebody says, I don't know how to use, I have this problem with this type of telescope. And people come back with suggestions. And one guy in 2021 asked for help with a school club, and I was astounded at how little useful help he got. But some people that were part of school clubs came back, and one guy talked about how his club members, one was a Hubble manager, another shuttle controller, simulator training, underwater photography, just amazing careers that people had, probably influenced by being in the club. And it seems it was a wonderful experience. And I urge you that are working on school clubs to enjoy wonderful experiences. Please log on to my website, schoolclub.ca. It helps with search optimization so more people can find it when they search for school clubs. And there's a email there, and please contact me, and I'll answer any questions. Thank you very much. Bye.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad Ron put that together for us. And his astroschoolclub.ca website. When I'm mentoring these different groups, especially, we've had a couple of groups recently start out to try to start doing outreach. It's a great place to send them to look for activities, things they can do to bring people into the club, and things they can do when they run events.
Well, this is the thing, is that there's only so much that you have the idea. I want to start a space club or an astronomy club, and then okay, well, we're going to look at stuff in space, and then what do you actually do when you go to a meeting, right? And this resource is fantastic, not just for student clubs and student run events, but for educators as well. It's something that's great for me to take a look at when I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's a way to visualize this? What's a way that we can present this to people of different ages? What's the way we can present this to people with different science backgrounds? And how do we make this type of incredible stuff accessible to as many people as we can? And astroschoolclub.ca is an incredible resource. So yeah, again, thank you so much, Ron, for that.
And honestly, given the weather in Canada, it's even great for parents on snow days when they're trying to figure out what to do with their kids.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap up here in a minute. I want to bring Gregory back if he's still out there, if he's fallen asleep behind the screen. I'm not sure if I can see him on the there he is. Okay, we'll bring him back in. So hey, Gregory, this is something else, right? We've seen the whole gamut of stuff tonight, going from high school clubs to university clubs, to more university clubs working at a different scope in different fields, and even to talking to people who have been doing astronomy like myself for maybe 5 or 6 years, or people like Karim who have been doing it their entire life, all 73 years of it. So, I mean, what do you have to say about this now, seeing kind of everybody's view on this and what this community is like?
I think there's just a really big diversity of people in astronomy that we've seen today. We've seen people, young, old, at all levels of education, even outside of education, who enjoy the field. And so I was, again, pretty surprised by seeing all the different cool stuff that people are doing. And I'm definitely inspired to keep going hard at what I'm doing.
It's good. And it's exciting for us to see young people getting into it when, you still, like you and the other presenters tonight, still have the passion for this kind of outreach and for a brand new subject and material that I think, unfortunately, often as we get older, everything else just kind of bogs down on you. And it's nice to remember that the reason we like this stuff is because we love this stuff. So it's exciting to share the stream with you tonight. And I want to thank you so much for coming. Is there anything that you want to last minute plugs that you want to give for our audience?
No, not really. Just except for thanks everyone. Thanks to all the presenters, and thanks to everyone for coming.
Well, thank you so much, Gregory. We'll take you off screen here as we sign off, but stick around so we can say goodbye off air. If I can figure out how to do that. Boom. And Karim, I know we've had a lot of fun tonight, and we've made a lot of jokes, but thank you so much for co-hosting with me. This is a wonderful yearly tradition. This is our 6th year now, I believe.
Our 6th year. Last year, I missed out on the live event. I helped with all the setup and everything, but then things didn't work out. But thankfully, Nadir, our outreach coordinator, was able to step in and take over. And we're watching just how dynamic everybody was with Brian. I love the fact that we're doing something different every year, but that the audience seems to just really enjoy the approach and the fact that we're really making it accessible. Right, we're making
it's a theme that's come up. I mean, all night long, right? Is this accessibility and the breadth and diversity of people across the globe who are interested in this, and this wonderful community we have that literally stretches across the entire world. So it's wonderful to see this.
Yep, and it's great to do this with you, Orbax, and everybody. Check out the February Stargazing Guide, and then stay tuned for more throughout the year, and we will see you again together in January.
Plugs. What do you want to plug? Where can people see what you're working on, what they get help with the club?
youtube.com/RASC Montreal or rascmontreal.org. You'll see our events coming up. And if you're in the Montreal area and you want to come to one of our members' nights, email us and come as our guest and get the chance to check out what makes RASC Montreal so special.
And I wanted to put a special thank you out to the Jack Space Club.
Exactly.
I don't have them on the owl right now, or I'd bring them back on. But thank you so much, and good luck with the rest of your event. And also a huge thank you to Ron McNaughton Thank you for sending that. It's an incredible resource that hopefully will get as much use as it deserves, which is plenty.
Exactly. And we'll keep bringing this material to you. The outreach side of things is what drives us. We love it.
Fantastic. All right. Stick around, Karim. Afterwards, we'll say goodbye, but I'll take you off screen for now. Well, there we have it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I mean, really, who amongst us hasn't looked up at the sky and wondered what's going on up there? We are such a minuscule part of everything that's in existence, and it fascinates me. And now we are on the edge, the brink, the precipice of going back to the moon, of sending people to our closest satellite, of seeing it, the farthest side of it. Something that hasn't been done in 50 years. I mean, nearly 100, well, just over 100 years. I'm a physicist, so we can do orders of magnitude here. Why not? 100 years ago, we figured out that we could fly and create planes. And 50 years after that, we were able to put a person on the moon. And now 50 years later, we're going back. This is an exciting time. So please, if you're interested in these resources, follow up with everybody. Keep sharing it. Keep going out and taking some time to look up. If you're interested in physics in general or what's going on here at the University of Guelph, you can always check out our Guelph Physics YouTube page and our Facebook page as well. But for now, have a science-tastic day, and don't forget to take some time to look up. Take care, everybody.